Hello, my name is Kerrioth, and today we are going to talk about what to expect from Games Workshop in 2019. I say what to expect, it's more like a mix of wish listing and predictions. I think some of the predictions are completely safe, to the point where, although I suppose them being safe doesn't make them any less of a prediction, it's just an easy prediction. So I'll tell you what, let's do the predictions first, and then we'll just nicely segue into wish listing, because that's easier, because it's just I want this thing, no matter how likely or probably unlikely it is for that thing to actually happen. The easy predictions, the really easy ones, will be more specialist games and more in the way of the versus boxes. So Tooth and Claw, Forgebane, Wake the Dead, which was the I believe is the Eldar versus Primaris one. Didn't pay a huge amount of attention to that one, if I'm honest. Did not tickle my fancy at all. At least Tooth and Claw had some fancy new Genestealer models in it, which, again, that's part of the reason why we're probably going to see quite a few of those this year. The fact that they are slipping the models, newer models in there that are only available in there for a while and then eventually come out by themselves. That was a big draw to Forgebane for a lot of people I know, was the fact you got the Armiger Knights in there. They just looked at it and went, oh my god, give me that immediately. The Necron half went on eBay, or a couple of enterprising people I know went, well, I might as well just buy a Start Collecting box as well and have a Necron army, which I'm sure is exactly what Games Workshop wanted and loved it every time that happened. We're going to see more of those. It's a mix of, providing a big incentive to grab the box by giving it a big discount, and providing the incentive of this is a model that you can only get from here for now. And it's worked. It's worked really well. It's just how many we're going to get, I have no idea. I would imagine 3 or 4, maybe even 5. They could surprise me and release 1 a month, although that seems unlikely. But yeah, they seem to do pretty well out of those. We're definitely going to see more of those this year. That's a safe bet. Same thing with specialist games, although specialist games, well, I suppose this applies to the box sets as well. It's difficult to predict exactly what we might see. I mean, it's all very well saying we'll see more of these big boxes, but the question is, what are we going to see in them? That is something that I don't think any of us really have the answer to. I would have said, last year before Forgebane arrived, that it's unlikely to be anything other than Power Armor versus Xenos. Then we got Admech versus Necrons, so I think that has opened the door to maybe some more interesting combinations in future, hopefully anyway, but I would not be surprised if we don't see the majority of them being something along the lines of the Imperium's best versus whoever we fancy on this particular occasion. There might be more that tie into Vigilus, which would be interesting, but I think that's more like veering towards wish listing territory. Specialist games, again, it's kind of difficult to say what we might see. It's just safe to assume that we will see more stuff. One of the things that I think is quite likely is that we'll see kind of an increased number of things like expansions, like Blackstone Fortress is out there now, can easily create expansions to that. It could be that we see more in the way of expansions than we do actual new games, which would make sense. I'd be interested to see if they do something on the scale of Black Fortress again. Black Fortress felt like not an anomaly, because we did have Adeptus Titanicus as well, but Blackstone Fortress felt like a very different box because everything in it was new, and that's quite a big endeavour, that's quite a big thing to do. I will say as well that everything in it looked great as well. It's one of those rare boxes where I looked at it and went, there isn't a single thing in here that I don't like. Like, there's stuff that I care about more than others in there, I mean specifically the Chaos stuff, especially the Traitor Guardsman, but there's nothing in there that's bad. There's nothing in there that's like over-designed or over the top or a bit daft. It all looked really, really good. It all fitted together well. And it did also give me hope for, I guess it's kind of a half prediction, half wish list of new Chaos stuff. I mean, we've got that countdown that we had from the start of the Vigilus campaign book where, when Harken Worldclaimer showed up on the world, stuck his thing in the floor and went, this is mine, as you do. He's obviously going to fail that, and we have that countdown now of 80 days. It's not 80 days now, obviously, because it started a while ago. I don't actually know how long ago it was. I could check, but instead I'm going to say that it was... I'm going to say we've got 67? No, 64 days left. That's probably not correct. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's not correct. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say it's about 64 days left now. And then I'm going to check it, and I'll be wrong. But we don't know what's going to happen at the end of that. To be honest, it might well be the second Vigilus campaign book. That would make sense. But along with that, or possibly just as a result of that countdown, we could see the Blackstone Fortress Chaos Space Marines getting their own box. If Abaddon comes back with a new model, it could be a nice little revamp for the Chaos line. We keep seeing stuff about Obliterators being updated, new models for them, so it's kind of half prediction, half wish list. At the end of that, we will see something Chaos related. It's just whether it's just the campaign book, whether it is a new model for Abaddon to prepare for the second campaign book, whether it's like a big thing altogether. Abaddon shows up because Harken World Claimer has failed. If he does show up, he's big enough that you would assume that we would see some sort of answer from the Imperium, because you can't just have the War Master show up. You can't have Abaddon the Despoiler arrive on Vigilus and everyone just goes, I'm sure it'll be fine. Something big will obviously have to arrive and try and take care of him. Whether it ends up with some sort of massive fight between him and Calgar, that's entirely possible. Although I would really put Abaddon a bit higher than Calgar in terms of who is stronger. Calgar is pretty solid, but he's not like, I don't think really he's Abaddon solid. So it might be that we see something happen where the Imperium has to dispatch someone even more powerful to try and deal with him. Maybe Gilliman shows up. It could be an opportunity for a new Loyalist Primarch. That's less prediction and less wish listing and more just thinking aloud. In fact, actually on that subject, Primarchs. Obviously there's going to be a Primarch or two this year. It's just which ones. I will say, as a purely wish listy thing, on two counts actually, we keep seeing stuff about Fulgrim, we keep seeing stuff about Angron. If we are going to see one of those two return, I want it to be Fulgrim, and not just because of my complete and obvious bias towards the Emperor's Children. It is mostly down to the fact that Slaanesh has not got the attention that I would like Slaanesh to have got. And in a weird way, even though it's not entirely fair to compare them, the Khorne Demon Canal album, Codex, that'd be a great album though, let's face it, that'd be awesome. That Codex, it did very much feel like a prototype, and looking back, it seems that it was, to me at least, a prototype for the Legion specific, the Chaos God specific codexes. So we have the Thousand Suns Codex, we have the Death Guard Codex. Khorne Demonkin felt like a kind of tester for that. Given that cycle was started by that, I think it would make more sense to see Emperor's Children before World Eaters. It would make more sense to see Slaanesh before Khorne. Tzeentch and the Thousand Suns have got a load of attention, and their stuff looks really good. Nurgle and Death Guard have got a load of attention, and their stuff, most of it to me looks good, some of it not so great. Khorne, although it hasn't had a huge amount of attention in 40k, has had a bunch of attention in Age of Sigmar, and I would kind of hope that we would see a bit more for Slaanesh before Khorne for 40k, just because there's been a very heavy focus just in Games Workshop as a whole. I know it's not been 40k based, but it has been Games Workshop based. It has been, that system has been very, very heavy on Khorne stuff for a while, well, since it launched pretty much. I know things have switched up a little bit with the second edition of Age of Sigmar, but there's a hell of a lot of Khorne stuff for that, and much though they're not the same universe, they're not connected, there's still a little part of me that's like, yeah, but come on, give Slaanesh something more than just a Herald and a couple of Fiends. Come on, just a little bit more. A little bit more would be nice. And I know the Berserkers are out of date. They're massively out of date. They need an update. They need to be less how they are and more like the newer Khan model. But they're still more approachable and kind of better to work with than buying a now outdated Chaos Space Marine squad that doesn't really look great and then equipping it with the Noise Marines upgrade pack from Games Workshop, which is an expensive way to build a squad that doesn't look very good. It's just, yeah, I just feel like Slanesh and the Emperor's Children, they need that extra attention. They haven't even had, at least there's a new Khan. That's something. It might only be one thing, but it's something. We don't have a new Fabius Bar. We don't have a new Lucius the Eternal. We've just got nothing, which not great. So my sort of personal wish list would be if it was Angron or Fulgrim, that it be Fulgrim, not Angron. In terms of Loyalist Primarchs, I genuinely want a Loyalist Primarch this year. I don't really care who. For me, there's been a number of times where Loyalist Primarchs could come back and they haven't, and they've missed the boat. It's been a perfect time for them to jump back into the scene and be like, hey, I'm back, Gilliman, what the fuck are you doing? Anything, I'll take anything, but it's just not happened. It's like they've all been snoozing. They've just been slamming the snooze button every single time something's happened, and they've missed it every time. I don't really care which of them returns at this point. I genuinely don't. I just feel like we need something to balance out the fact that Gilliman's the only one. I do not want us to end up with like the four. I mean, if we end up with Magnus, Mortarion, Angron, and Fulgrim all back, and Gilliman is still the only Loyalist Primarch, there's only so much my disbelief can be suspended. They are strong, powerful beings backed by incredibly, literal gods. Gilliman has a reputation as being a Mary Sue, as being, holier than thou, and I am the best. It's just, you're not doing him any favours by making it so that he's the only one around and he is somehow able to hold the line against all of this. You're not doing him any favours with that. And there's so much stuff that can be explored in Imperium Nihilus that you could have any of them come back. I just want something that isn't Gilliman for the Imperium side, because it would provide something different. It could provide conflict, it could provide a united front, it could be the kick the Imperium needs to try and properly secure Imperium Nihilus again. There's so many things that could be done. It could create a rift, it could create some sort of rebellion. There's any number of ways it could go. And all of them are more interesting than, and Gilliman is still alive, because that's currently what it feels like we have. No matter who it is, a Loyalist Primarch is like way high on my wish list, not even because I want to buy them, but because I think it would make the narrative more interesting, it would make the story more fun, and it would make things more just better is the only way to put it. It would just make things a bit better. I think probably we're going to see more in the way of Primaris releases. My just personal wish list is fewer lieutenants and more of anything else. Like, we've seen about reinforcements of Vigilus. It'd be cool if they did something fun with vehicles. It'd be cool if they introduced some new units. Just maybe ease up on the lieutenants. Like, I don't mind them, but I mean, you still can't get the Captain in Gravis armour unless you buy the Dark Imperium box. How about releasing one of them? How about something like that? Just as a thought. Yeah, we've got Marnius Calgar now, and I guess you could kit bash him, but it's an expensive way to kit bash a Captain in Gravis armour, I feel like there's better ways to do that. The easy to build aggressors are another solution, but again, we don't really need another lieutenant. At least make something else. Anything else. It's just anything else. They look fine, but there's enough. There's enough now. We're sorted for Primaris lieutenants at this point. I can't really think of anything else that I really want to see. I mean, outside of like fully wishlisted stuff. Oh, prediction is obviously Sisters of Battle, because we know that's going to happen, but that doesn't really count, which is why I didn't mention it before. They're going to be out this year. Unless something like weird or bad happens, in which case it might be delayed, but I really hope it doesn't happen, and I hope we do get them this year. But that's like Dave said, that's going to happen, so that's not really a prediction, is it? The only things I can really think in terms of actual full-on wishlisting is updates. Updates to existing models is what I'd really like to see. It's stuff that we won't see, is the unfortunate truth of it. Because what I want to see is, a bunch of the resin or metal stuff disappearing and being replaced. I want to see Imperial Guard regiments make a comeback, but in plastic. I want to see the Cadian set upgraded. I want to see the Catachan set updated. I'd like the Eldar range to not have all of the Aspect Warriors in fucking resin. There's a lot of stuff that I want, but a lot of it is not going to happen. On a completely personal note, unrelated slightly to the Chaos stuff, this here, the old Defiler. Yes, it is very dusty. I've brought him down from the loft because he's going to be harvested for parts for the Redemptor mob, which is going to be mildly heretical because, of course, it is. It's me. This, when it came out, I loved this model. I bought 2 of them instantly as part of my siege line for my stupid Iron Warriors army, which was not really very good, but it was fun. Back when you could take 4 heavy supports if you sacrificed 2 fast attack slots, if you were playing Iron Warriors. I had 2 of these, and the Iron Warriors could also take the Basilisk at the time as well. So a couple of these and a Basilisk made a nice battle cannon / earth shaker cannon battle line at the back, just shelling the shit out of people. It was quite good. This, when it came out, I really liked. It looked amazing. It was like, oh my god, look at it. It's like a demon engine. That's not really the case anymore. We now have the Forge Fiend, Mauler Fiend, Helldrake, Hellbrute. We have all of these actual demonic engine looking things, and then we have this. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this does not look anywhere near as good as they do, and given that they are similar, they do not look similar. If anything, the Soul Grinder is closer to what the Defiler could or should look like for me. I'd like this kit to be updated so it's more in line with the other stuff that Chaos gets. Because right now Chaos is in a weird place where you've got old tech left over from the Horus Heresy, so you've got Land Raiders and you've got Rhinos, Predators. Then you've got weird, Dark Mechanicus created monstrosities like the Forge Fiend, like the Helldrake. And then in the middle you've got this, which looks like it was made to fit in with the boxy vehicles, but is supposed to have been created in the same way that all the other demonically possessed vehicles were created, and as a result it doesn't look like it fits with either. It's not quite boxy enough to be a Horus Heresy style thing, and it's not quite demonic enough to be a proper Dark Mechanicus creation. Instead, it's just a turret on 6 legs with a face on top. It is not aged well, is what I'm getting at. So if I'm going to go full wish list, a new version of this would be top of the list, and I would buy one immediately. Just doesn't look as good as he used to. That's what it boils down to. I think that's pretty much it. Can't think of anything else I really, really, really want. But what do you want? What is top of your list? If you could have anything this year, if you wanted Games Workshop to make anything this year, what is it? What are your predictions as well? What do you think we're definitely going to see this year? Anything a bit mad, but you're sure it's going to happen? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve, and here's to the rest of 2019, all 364 days of it. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.